You know the old saying, happy wife, happy life. Well, retirement planning is certainly no exception to this rule. When we come back, we will have some tips for you and your spouse so that you both walk away happy. So please come right on back to Elevate Your Wealth.
And now, Elevate Your Wealth with Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins.
Welcome into Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts are Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. 42 years combined experience in the retirement planning business, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. They're certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. Again, you can go online and check out a great resource website, efmnw.com. That's efmnw.com. All letters, and there'll be links to the radio show as well as links to the TV show, Elevate Your Wealth. A lot of great information there for you when it comes to retirement. All right, remember the three things to avoid in polite conversation: money, politics, religion. Well, when it comes to your relationship, discussing your finances with your spouse, well, it's a whole nother story. Communication is key to finding financial security, peace of mind, and freedom in retirement, and hopefully limit the number of arguments you have with your partner. So among the topics that spark disagreements among couples, money is going to top the list for most. Recent survey found that nearly 7 in 10 Americans married or living with a partner have had disagreements with their partner about finances within the last year alone. So, in an effort to help ease that tension surrounding conversations about money with your partner, we are going to cover the fundamentals of financial planning for couples. So, Casey, let's get into this. I mean, obviously, if you're in a relationship, you kind of need to be on the same page when it comes to planning.
Yeah, that really is important. And I think that this is something that is very often overlooked. This is not one of the most exciting things when you're thinking about getting married or going into a partnership with somebody. And so realistically, this isn't something that gets talked about a lot. It really just arises as a problem at some point. And whether it be because you're from different backgrounds, you were just raised in different ways, whatever the circumstance is, as you mentioned, 7 in 10 Americans have argued or had a disagreement with their partner in the last year. And so, this study really is eye-opening. And I think we'll start with this, Morgan. It says only about 16% of couples surveyed feel that they're financially compatible with their spouse. That is an astonishingly low number of folks that feel like that they're evenly yoked, like they see eye to eye with the person that they're supposed to be kind of sharing everything with. And ultimately, we understand that, though, right? Again, because it could just be background. It could be the way that you were raised, where you're from, different things of that nature. But that really does put a strain on a marriage. That makes it very difficult. In addition to that, we'll add that about 27% of married couples argue at least once a month about their finances. That's really sad to hear, and unfortunately, it's pretty easily believable because we do hear that in our office a lot. When folks come in, we hear them talk about how one person is a spender and the other is a saver, and to some extent that makes sense, right? Because the old adage is that opposites attract, and so it makes sense that that's the way it is with finances too. But this is something we got to have an open conversation about, especially when we're thinking about retirement. We really got to be on the same page, or at least understand how the other person operates and try to meet in the middle. Here's another one. About 22% of married individuals argue most about the budget. So just monthly spending. At my house, that might be how often the Amazon guy visits or how often new car parts show up, or, fun stuff like that. And thankfully, my wife is very understanding of all those things. But, ultimately, just the way that we spend our money day in and day out, it's viewed very differently from each individual, from one person to the next. And, our school systems don't do a good job about teaching about budgeting, about simple financing, or simple finances, I should say. And so that really becomes amplified when you start sharing a living space, when you get together with somebody and you're planning your life. And now it's not your money, it's our money. And seeing how somebody else spends really comes to the top of the list of things that can create issues within a house. Here's another one. 35% of disagreements between couples are related to fears about market risk and the economy more often than personal spending philosophies. So folks are worried about market risk. They're worried about the economy. And what this tells us is that typically one partner is and the other isn't so much. And again, opposites attract. So you have one individual who's really focusing on the market, paying attention to the economy, thinking of those things, and the other who's maybe just kind of along for the ride, having a good time. And both of those things are good, but we need to kind of meet in the middle, right? We've got to have an understanding with one another. Here's the last one that we'll share. 29% of couples disagree about whether they're to spend for today or to save for tomorrow. Man, that can put some stress on a marriage. That can put some stress on a partnership, because you got one person who's really trying to cut back and live simply, as it were, so that they can save for tomorrow and build something for the future. And you got the other thinking, what do we need all this money for? Let's spend it now. Let's have a good time now. Let's do it now. Right. And so, I mean, those are two like diametrically opposed mindsets. And so, again, Mark and I joke about this a lot. We almost feel like marriage counselors sometimes when folks come into the office. It's like a therapy session, right? Because there's just a lot of disagreement there, and it can create angst. And we don't want that for anybody, but especially for our clients. And so this is where it becomes important to have a safe environment that you can have that conversation and speak openly and freely, and yet still be very respectful of the other individual. And for any folks that are listening to this that are having those type of disagreements at home, take a deep breath, have the open conversation, try to see it from the other person's point of view so that you can build something strong for the future.
Well, and you have that plan working with a third party, a fiduciary, where you can sit down in that protective space, as you just kind of described it, Casey, and have the conversation about what you want for the future, your retirement planning, and kind of get on the same page with your finances, because it is a very tough discussion to have in a couple situation. And these stats are telling us, I mean, think about it. 16% of couples surveyed feel they're financially compatible with their spouse. That means 84% are not.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's huge.
That's a big number. But if you have a plan and you are talking about it and things are out on the table, that creates that ease of mind. Well, here on Elevate Your Wealth, again, powered by Elevated Financial Management, we talk retirement each and every week, but we also give you an opportunity to get on the calendar with Mark and Casey and their entire team and talk about your situation. And if you have not started planning, this is a great opportunity to do it. If you're in the middle of something, need that second opinion, one of these appointments can be for you. And again, they're no cost, no obligation, no pressure. So a recent Accenture survey, Mark, on couples and finances found that 51% of the couples already view their current advisor as and Casey kind of mentioned it, life coach. Now, kind of walk us through this point, and it seems, you kind of wear many hats at the firm. How do you quell the fears and concerns that couples have when they sit down to meet with you, because you are wearing a lot of hats?
Yeah, and this is something Casey and I really see on a regular basis, as Casey just mentioned. But it's something that if you don't deal with it, it's going to cause big problems. And we have to act as a coach in a lot of different ways. But it kind of can be good too, because we try and take a third party position. We don't have any, horse in the race or any dog in the fight. We're just going to hopefully get them to open up. And really, I can't tell you how many times one looks at the other and goes, I didn't know you felt that way. And especially if you're talking somebody who's been married 20, 30, 40 years, and they're making those type of statements. So that matters, right? So that's why we want both couples to come in and sit down together, because if you don't, this is what can happen. One viewpoint about how to do things can be dramatically different than their partners, right? Because these are going to be long-lasting decisions that are going to affect both of you when it comes to retirement. So, it just helps when you have a third party. When somebody's having trouble inside their marriage, right? What do they do if they can't work it out? They hopefully will talk to a marriage counselor, right? Because that counselor is going to act as their coach or somebody that might, be neutral and not take any one side. And so that's what we try and do as planners, so that we can help them make the decisions that need to be made, but in a way that they're both on the same page and not, as Casey mentioned, diametrically opposed, because that can happen and you may not even know that that's really how your husband or wife feels.
All right, couples. It's almost like back in the day when you'd go to the skating rink. It's couples skate time. Couples skate. All the singles would leave the floor, and the couples are out there skating.
Exactly.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the couples skate here because you're skating off into your retirement. And now there's opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. No cost, no obligation, no pressure. Guys, tell us what's going to happen for the next 10 appointments.
Well, for those that are willing to pick up the phone, this is for a written financial plan put together by our team of certified financial planners. And so, the reason that that's so important is because we don't know what the future brings. And so we need to make sure that we're spending the time to deal with those unknowns now. We take care of them before we get to them. And ultimately, that gives you the flexibility to have success in retirement, to do all those things that you want to do. So with that, we'll talk about the taxes that you're going to end up paying in retirement. And if there's something that we can do to lessen those taxes, that's very key. The more money you can keep in your pocket, the better. In addition to that, we'll focus on the risk that you're taking. We'll talk through an income plan, making sure that you've got a solid income for the future. And as we've been discussing this morning, making sure that you and your spouse are on the same page and that you have a plan that's working together. That is so key, to make sure that your plans are working in unison so that there's a household plan. All that and so much more when we get together and have that conversation. Don't hesitate to pick up the phone.
All right, this is your opportunity. Again, we have the 10 spots on the calendar, no cost, no obligation, no pressure. And the goal of this show is to help you make the best decision when it comes to your retirement. If you're a couple out there and maybe you're not on the same page, come in, have that third party kind of walk you through this process. Again, here's the number, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. Really, this is open for everybody. If you have not started planning or you need that second opinion, this is no cost, no obligation, no pressure. 866-668-3625. Call and grab one of those spots. Now, there are several reasons why people may be worried about retirement and their confidence in retirement has dropped off. We're going to talk about that, but also have suggestions to kind of keep you on track. That's coming up next. Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts are Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find him at Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle. 42 years combined experience in the retirement planning business, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for their golden years. Certified financial fiduciaries, yes, they are. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate, and here we go. Again, there's confidence issues when it comes to retirement. It's dropped to low levels, some say as low as back in 2008. So what about that confidence? And we wanted to give you some suggestions to help you stay on track. So why is the confidence taking a hit? Casey, we'll start with you. The rising cost of living. I mean, it's expensive to do everything.
Yeah, it is. And this is affecting everybody, right? This is not just retirees.
Sure.
But as we've talked about before, retirees are at even more risk in this circumstance, or those approaching retirement, right? Pre-retirees. As you're planning that retirement, you'll realize that this cost of living piece has a direct impact on how things are going to play out in your retirement. So it's been increasing steadily over the years, which can make it more challenging to save money for retirement. And that can also make people feel anxious about their ability to cover their expenses in retirement. So this is kind of a mouthful here, but I'm going to try and share this with the folks at home. According to the 2023 Annual Employee Benefit Research Institute Retirement Confidence Survey.
Wow, that is a mouthful.
I did it. I'd get a pat on the back for that one.
I think that's the EBRIRC.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll roll with that. What we'll say is, according to a recent survey,
yes,
only 64% of workers and 73% of retirees are confident about their retirement prospects, which is down from just a year ago. The workers was at 73%, retirees were at 77% confident. Now that's dropped. And so this is really important because that cost of living, as we mentioned, it's going to affect you more than it does those who are currently still in the workforce and will be in the workforce for years to come. You can go to your boss and you can talk about a cost of living raise. You can talk about how things are going, and there's an understanding on the other side of that table. There's no understanding there if your plan doesn't account for it. If you've set up a retirement plan that doesn't account for an increased cost of living, for inflation and those kind of things, there's nobody on the other side of the table to understand. This is where it becomes so important to have an advisor who's helping you plan these things out to make sure that you're dealing with these roadblocks that are inevitably going to come up. And so the best way that you can deal with that cost of inflation is to make sure that your income sources are reliable. Look and see if you have a potential to add an income source. Understand if your income sources will increase, whether that be because of inflation, like the CPI, or just whatever, if there's a fixed percentage increased amount that you can receive. You want to know that, because now is the time to start making those changes. Now is the time to look for ways to keep pace with inflation. You don't want to get 5 or 10 years into this and realize that you've made a mistake that you can now no longer offset. This is the time to deal with it.
Tell you folks, having a plan too. I mean, having things down on paper and taking into account what's coming at us and that rising cost of living. It's out there and it's going to impact retirees. But if you have a plan, you've got a roadmap. And that's what we're talking about. We do it each and every week here on Elevate Your Wealth. We also open up 10 positions on the calendar with Mark, Casey, their entire team at Elevated Financial Management. No cost, no obligation, no pressure. Talk about where you are in your process. If these are concerns of yours, there's an opportunity to come in and talk about it and kind of, let those shoulders down a little bit. Exhale, get the stress out of there, and at least have the conversation instead of burying it in the sand. You don't want to procrastinate on these things. You really want to stay out in front of it. So again, not only telling you, why the confidence is dipping like it did back in 2008, but also giving you some suggestions. So the rising cost of living we've talked about. Mark, this next one, uncertainty around Social Security. We get Social Security on the show almost every single week because it's going to impact us all. It's going to be a piece of our retirement. People are concerned.
Yeah, and this is something that I am a nationally certified Social Security advisor, and Social Security for most of us is going to be a major leg or pillar of guaranteed retirement income. Now, there is some disagreement right now as to what's going to happen with Social Security, right? And we know that the report that just came out, the trustee report, is telling everyone that within about 10 years, there's going to have to be a pretty big change. And this is one that I happen to probably agree with. We could see a reduction of anywhere from 20 to 25%, but it's not going away. So anybody that's worried about that needs to know that that's not going to happen, in my professional opinion. I go on Social Security this coming June. In September, and I'll be filing for my benefit in June. So I'm right there with a lot of baby boomers that are having to make this decision right now. I will be full retirement age. Now, the Gen Xers and the millennium, they are a little more pessimistic about Social Security, and rightfully so. I think one of the big changes we're going to see is full retirement age could be getting bumped up to 70. Right now, it's 66 or 67, depending on the year of your birth. But these are important dates because you're going to be making a decision that's going to affect your pocketbook going forward. So you need to know all of the options, including spousal and survivorship benefit options, because if you make a mistake and you just do something that's based on winging it, you could be costing yourself a couple of $100,000 or more in guaranteed income. So Social Security is something you need to understand, and you need to talk with somebody that really understands it so they can help you maximize that benefit that you worked your whole life for.
Yeah, I think that realistically, wherever you fall, whether you be positive about Social Security and the future of that, or you feel pessimistic about it, everybody understands that there's going to be some changes, right? And so if that's the case, that makes the rest of the planning for your retirement even more important. If you're concerned that Social Security is not going to be as strong as it was in the past, that means that you realize you need a plan more than you've ever needed it in the past. All those other things that we talk about day in and day out on our show, if you listen, if you watch the TV show, All those things are much more important when we start to lose ground with Social Security. So now is the time to take advantage of that. We don't want to delay on something like this. We've got opportunity to deal with it. You've got time, you got runway to deal with it. Now's the time to make it happen.
I mean, yeah, if you're concerned about Social Security, find out ways that you can make up what you feel is going to be the difference when it comes to your retirement. Elevate Your Wealth is the program you are tuned to. Mark Stimson, Casey Elkins, Elevated Financial Management, where you can find them, the power behind this program. Again, concern, confidence in retirement, it has dipped. Why is it dipping? And then maybe some suggestions on how to kind of come out of this nosedive. So we've talked about the rising cost of living. We've talked about the uncertainty around Social Security. And Casey, you get economic downturns. I mean, the stock market is what it is, but we're seeing the economy go up and down, and that has people a little nervous.
Yeah, absolutely. And rightfully so. This is, we're kind of in a very unprecedented time. And I hate saying that word because it just seems like such commonplace for folks to say that now, but it really is true. We think about rising costs of living, Social Security changes, as Mark mentioned, economic downturns, the debt ceiling, taxes in the future. All these tops are turning at the same time. They've all been set in motion. And once one of them bumps into another or one of them fails, that really could set off a big chain reaction. And so economic downturns, I mean, we're seeing some struggles now, but as a lot of this continues to unfold, we'll see potentially even more. If we think about the 2008 financial crisis, COVID-19 pandemic, even if we go back to the dot-com crash, late 90s, early 2000, that has a big impact on retirement savings. And that can lead to loss in jobs, reduced income, lower investment returns. And if you're already retired, that might mean that you have to take less income. And as we saw in 2008, that might mean you're going back to work if you don't have a plan that's set up properly, if you don't have your income taken care of. And so there is a lot to be worried about here. And we don't talk about this to scare you. We talk about this because this is real. And these are things that are affecting everybody, but especially those retirees. You've got to have a handle on this. You want to have confidence when it comes to your plan and make sure that you know how to deal with these different scenarios.
Well, let's open up some spots on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. Mark, we've got the 10 positions. What's going to happen for these 10 callers?
Yeah, so please pick up the phone. If you're concerned about any of the things that we've been talking about today, you're worried about your income maybe not being guaranteed. You've worked at Boeing or Weyerhaeuser for decades. You don't know, maybe you're not going to have a pension. These are going to be anxieties that you have to worry about. So please pick up the phone. We're going to have a plan that's put together by our team of certified financial planners, and we're going to look at everything that you're going to need when it comes to retirement. We're going to take a hard look at your taxes. When are you going to draw money out of certain buckets that you may have if you're fortunate to have multiple different scenarios in your savings? How are we going to deal with guaranteed income? That's something we're going to have to take a hard look at. Then we're going to want to see how you might want to move money to the next generation. And then, of course, we're also going to be looking at your health scenario. Do we want to deal with a Medicare supplement or a Med Advantage plan? So please pick up the phone. Let us develop a plan and keep your checkbook at home.
So proud to be shedding light on so many different topics when it comes to retirement. We get it. It's a nervous time. You can take the first step. If you haven't started planning, this is a great opportunity, or if you need that second opinion. Call this number now, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. 10 spots. They will go fast. 866-668-3625. When we come back, it's time to get back to basics. Going to break down the steps you can take right now to help you on that road to retirement. Welcome back into Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts are Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them at Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle. Great resource website. Check it out. EFMNW.com. All letters. EFMNW.com. All of our radio shows and podcast form are there for you. Plus, there are links to the TV show Elevate Your Wealth. A lot of great information on retirement. You can certainly kick the tires. And again, 42 years combined experience between Mark and Casey, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for their retirement. They are certified financial fiduciaries. Again, I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. From Social Security claiming strategies to maxing your 401k, we're going to cover it all. And And again, think about this. You're going to school. You're in class, and class is now in session. By incorporating some of these elements into a retirement and income plan, you can better prepare, get ready for that comfortable and secure retirement. That's what we all want, right? So let's get into this. Casey, you're first up. If we are going to school, and you're going to teach us, right? Save regularly when planning for retirement. That's the first one. And then, we'll get to the 401k, but let's talk about just making sure you're doing this on a routine basis. Man, get it taken out of there automatically, get it into your retirement accounts.
That's it. I mean, you've got to start early. And we can illustrate this. If we think about the tortoise and the hare, right? The hare is more exciting to watch, right? And it runs up and down. It does all these great things. It's fast, but it doesn't end up winning in the end. What wins is the consistent tortoise. It's slow and steady. And it's the same idea here. The earlier that you start saving for your retirement, as early on in your career as possible, the more time that money has to compound and to grow. And here's the deal. When if we boil it all down, what we realize is that it's time in the market that wins, not timing the market, right? Timing the market, anybody will tell you that that's a bad idea. It's not going to work out. But time in the market where we're consistently contributing, adding to our accounts, building our investments, that will create success in terms of our saving for retirement. So we want to save as much as we can. If you can save 10% or more of your annual salary and continue to increase that, one of the best ways to do that is people look to get pay raises each year. Well, instead of spending that entire pay raise on yourself and on your lifestyle right now, save as much of that increased pay as you can for the future you, for your future self, for that your family that you've got, for the retirement that you're looking to have. And that will set you up again for success so that you can really build something positive and sizable for retirement, so that you don't have to rely on Social Security if you are worried about it, right? Now's the time to do something about it. So save, do as much as you can. And that really ties into like what you mentioned, Morgan, with the 401k, right? That's the best way to do it, is we can save in our 401k. And a lot of times this is missed. If you're going to get a match from your employer, max out the match, meaning contribute every dollar that you can to get 100% of the match from your employer, because that's free money. It's money that you don't have to put in. It's money that the employer is offering. You just have to do your part and contribute to match it, or contribute a certain amount to get that match. So don't hesitate on that. Definitely take advantage of those opportunities that are open to you.
Tell you, folks, having a plan, being ready for retirement, doing this well in advance. And again, these are some things that you can do. Save regularly, obviously putting that money away, putting it towards your retirement, and planning for it. And then maximizing the 401k. If you've got a 401k at work and they have a match, you need to max it out. All right, Mark, the next couple are for you. Taking advantage of retirement planning tax breaks. There are some in there you got to take advantage.
Yep. And so tax planning is a huge part of our practice, which a lot of the big box stores don't want to touch taxes. We touch them. We rub them. We want everybody to know how taxes are going to affect them. So we want it to be a big part of your plan. So if you go the traditional route in a 401k plan for this year, you can contribute up to $22,500. And if you're over 50, it's going to take that number to 30,000. Now, what's the pro? The pro is that if you put in 30, let's say, then you don't have to pay tax on 30. So if you made $200,000, you're going to pay tax on 170. Well, what's the con? The con is that when you pull the money out on the back end, every penny is taxable. So I happen to believe that a better tax planning tool is the Roth. I'd rather not have the deduction now up front because I believe taxes are going up. And so if taxes are going to go up, that deduction won't mean near as much to you as it will all the money when you draw it out of your retirement account when you retire. It's all tax-free, including all the growth. So we're a big proponent of using a Roth or life insurance to build up for tax-free income. And if you can't do that, you could set up your own IRA, of course, if you don't have a plan at work. And I also would tell you this too, if your 401k or your qualified plan, there is no match or any employer contribution like there could be in a profit share, I'm not a big fan of 401ks. I think there are better ways that you can create a tax-free stream of income on the back end that will mean a lot more to you than a 401k plan that doesn't have any match. And so you need to have something that, like Casey mentioned, you got to start paying yourself. So that means save, and save every penny that you can, because it's going to help you in the long run create the retirement dreams and hopes that you were hoping that you'd have.
Elevate Your Wealth. Mark Stimson, Casey Elkins are your hosts. Again, you can find them at Elevated Financial Management. There's going to be an opportunity to get on their calendar, no cost, no obligation, no pressure. And this can be maybe to just kind of start kicking the tires. Maybe you haven't started planning yet. This is a great opportunity to kind of dip your toe into that retirement planning pool and judge that temperature. Or you may be full on swimming in it, right? You're halfway down the path to retirement and you need a second opinion. You're frustrated. That communication level is just not there. You can use one of the appointments, again, to get on the calendar. 866-668-3625 is the number to call. We've got 10 positions. They open up at the beginning of the show, and we leave them open until they are filled, and they do go fast. Call now and grab one. 866-668-3625. Again, just going over things that you can do to kind of help make that retirement comfortable, that retirement secure. So save regularly. When you're planning for retirement, go ahead and automate it. Make sure you're doing that as early as possible. It's going into those retirement accounts. You got that compounding interest working for you. You know, maximize that 401k. If you've got a match at work, make sure you're hitting that. And then take advantage. If you have an opportunity to get into a Roth, as Mark mentioned, it's like, taxes are on sale right now. So get into a Roth, and you don't get the deduction right away, right now, but on the back end, it comes out tax-free. And then you can always, if you don't have that 401k, you can open up your own IRA. So Casey, the next two are for you. Getting into, the allocation that's in your portfolio, you really need to sit down, work with a professional, and make sure you do this right.
Yeah, this is very important. We've talked about saving, the different ways to do that, and that's a start. But now we want to make sure that our investments are set up appropriately, not only from a risk perspective, which is very important, right? We want to make sure that we're not taking more risk than we're truly comfortable with, because that in and of itself will lead folks to make very emotional decisions when it comes to their investing. And we've seen plenty of people pull out of their investments because they were scared or concerned or didn't quite understand what was going on. And then in turn, they missed a big upturn in the market. So we want to make sure that we're investing appropriately with how we're comfortable risk-wise. In addition to that, we need to make sure that our investments are low cost, or at least as low cost as we can make them. Now, if you're investing inside of a 401k, you may not have as many choices in terms of cost and just overall flexibility as to how those investments are structured. Inside of an IRA, there's a lot more choices. Same with a Roth IRA. You have a lot more control, and you can discuss that with an advisor to make sure that you're going down the right path. But we really can't stress this enough. Making sure that we're allocated appropriately for growth, not leaving too much on the table in that regard, and yet at the same time not taking too much risk so that we get terribly damaged on the downside. And then at the same time making sure that our fees are as low as we can make them, because over the course of time, we talked about compounding earlier, over the course of time, your fees are doing the same thing. Those fees are taking out lots and lots of money that you're saving, money that you've earned. And I just want to be very clear, we do charge fees here as well. I'm not saying that all fees are bad, but you want to get what you're paying for. That's what it really boils down to. If you're not getting what you're paying for, you're not setting yourself up in the right way. So we want to be strategic and very cautious of how we set up those investments.
I mean, we want comfortable, secure retirement. So things that you can do. I mean, it's a nervous time. We get it. People are very, very concerned. But look, if you're saving regularly, you're planning for retirement, you've got to jump on things. And if you are maximizing a 401k, if you have one at work and you have a match and you're in that, make sure you're doing that. And if there's a tax break out there, find it, take advantage of it. If you can get into a Roth, obviously we've talked about that. That's a great opportunity for you right now because taxes are low. And then open up an IRA. If you don't have a 401k, create your own. Open up that IRA and then carefully select those retirement investment allocations and then the fees. Make sure you're aware of what the fees are and what they go to. And then the last couple we'll throw to Mark. And Social Security, there it is again. This is part of your plan. You need to make sure you optimize that.
Yes, and this is one of the most important decisions you're going to make. Is when do I turn on or sign up for my Social Security, right? Payments are going to be reduced if you sign up before you hit full retirement age. That could be 66 or 67. We've talked about that. We talk about this on every show, right? And so you also have to deal with an earned income test that you may be forced to look at. So again, you want to be sure that you're working with someone that fully understands Social Security and can help you maximize the benefit that you're entitled to, and don't let Social Security necessarily get you to go early, because for most people that is a mistake. It's not a benefit.
Tell you folks, having a plan, having that ease of mind, knowing that you're working with fiduciaries as you take that walk, you're walking towards your retirement. And this is a plan that gets you to it and through it. And now's the opportunity to get on the calendar. We have 10 positions at Elevated Financial Management. These are on the calendar, no cost, no obligation, no pressure. Casey, what's going to happen for these 10 callers?
Well, again, this is a written financial plan put together by our team of certified financial planners. And my question to you is this: are you prepared for retirement? Do you have a plan that sets you up to have proper income that adjusts over time? Have you considered the risk that you're taking inside of your accounts? Do you know what your tax burden is going to be over the course of your retirement? Have you done things to lessen those taxes? What about your health care? Is that all taken care of? Med Advantage versus Med Sup? Have you considered long-term care and the cost that that's going to have? In addition to legacy and estate planning, making sure that things pass appropriately to the next generation. All of those things are what we're going to consider when we put together this plan for you. Again, it's complimentary, no obligation. Don't hesitate. Pick up the phone now.
Here's the phone number, 866-668-3625. This is a written financial plan. It is complimentary, 866-668-3625. We have 10 appointments available. Call now, 866-668-3625. When we come back, it's time for question and answer. Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts are Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management, the power behind this program. Between Mark and Casey, 42 years combined experience in the retirement planning business, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for said retirement. They are certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate, and I have some scenarios. I have some questions for the gentlemen today, and they are going to give us the answers. And these come from all over the retirement spectrum. So here we go. First scenario to Casey. My spouse and I are 79 and 77 years old. We have $2 million in assets and want to transfer some of that to our grandchildren when we pass. Now, instead of giving them each a set amount all at once, is it possible to give them certain amounts over the years?
Yeah, that's a good question. One that we actually do hear fairly frequently. And it's important to do that planning now, right? So it's important to think about that now. Think about that when you're setting up your retirement. Many folks do have a desire to leave a legacy. And so we want to make sure we do that in the best way possible. So there's a couple things that can be done to leave assets. Number one, we can actually do that while we're still alive. So we can start giving portions of our estate using what's called the gift tax exclusion. So that means that we can give $17,000 to each grandchild from each spouse. So for a married couple, you could give $34,000 to each grandchild without incurring taxes on those dollars while you're still around. And that's a great way to leave a legacy while you're still here to watch them enjoy it. Maybe you're helping them with a down payment on a home. Maybe it's, whatever it may be, it's something that you can have a positive impact on their lives while you're still here to see the positive effects. Now, in addition to that, when we do pass, there is another way that we can make sure that those funds are kind of paid out over time. And so you can use a trust to establish payments over the course of someone else's life. The trust can be responsible to dole out those funds over the course of 10, 15, 20, 30 years, whatever that looks like. That's one way to do it. Now, the big thing here, I think, that we can add to this is, how do we fund that? How do we take the $2 million in assets that you mentioned and pass on some of those to the grandchildren or to the children? Think of it this way. If we're going to leave, let's say, $1 million to each grandchild, we have 2 grandchildren, so that's $2 million. It's going to cost us $2 million to leave them that money. If instead we use life insurance, we might be able to buy a $2 million life insurance policy for much less than $2 million, and we're getting leverage on our money. So now we're being very efficient with how our money is set up to pass on to the next generation. Now, there's lots of things to consider there. It has to be part of an overall plan. You want to make sure your own income is taken care of, but this is something very valuable, and it is something that's definitely worth considering, again, on a situational basis. Now, given the age, being in your late 70s, almost into your 80s, life insurance may not be as cost effective as it once was, but it's still worth having this conversation surrounding all the details in your particular plan. You want to add some of that, Mark?
Yeah, I was just going to say what Casey was mentioning early, we're big believers in, and that is creating memories now with our children. Do things with them, maybe trips or cruises or things that you can do as a family, because it's one thing to leave a chunk of money to someone, right? And that's okay. But it's not the same thing as creating memories that'll be talked about forever. And that's all I wanted to add about this subject we're talking about right now.
Elevate your wealth. It's all about planning for retirement, getting ready for your golden years. And there are so many different scenarios that you really need to consider. Having a plan, having someone sit down with you, a fiduciary, and talk these things out. Talk about your options. I mean, that's why we do this show. There's going to be an opportunity to get on the calendar with Casey, Mark, their entire team. There are 10 spots, 10 appointments available this week. 866-668-3625. They're no cost, no obligation, no pressure. If you haven't started planning or you need that second opinion, grab one of the appointments. They're available right now, 866-668-3625. All right, next scenario up. Mark, this one's for you. Here it is. I've heard that the current retirement advice is to have $1 million saved for said retirement. We have a guaranteed income right now of 80% in our current working income with 2 pensions and a railroad retirement. Now, we will probably never take Social Security. We do not have $1 million saved for retirement, although we are nearing retirement age. Does the advice of saving the $1 million for retirement apply to our situation?
You know, all I want to say about this scenario is good for you, because it sounds like you're going to basically have 3 guaranteed accounts that you can count on. And our happiest clients by far are the ones that might have worked for the federal government. They may have been military, where they're going to have Social Security and at least 1 pension.
Boeing pension.
You know, Boeing, my
Yep.
Boeing guys, exactly. So, but we know even at Boeing, they got rid of that plan, so it's no longer available, and they didn't want to be on the hook, and that's why they basically got rid of that. So if you're going to have 80% of your current working income covered, oh boy, that is a sweet scenario to be in. I wish that was going to be our scenario, right, Casey? Yeah. Now, the $1 million number, we can't tell you how many believe million is their number. If they hit $1 million, they're good. Well, that may or may not be the case, because if you think about $1 million, and if you were to be able to generate a 5% payout rate, that would create $50,000 a year guaranteed. Let's say if you start at 65. And if $50,000 a year is enough, well, then $1 million is your number. But for some of our clients, that's not enough. So $1 million doesn't necessarily give you the pot of gold right at the end of the rainbow. It just doesn't happen. It's not reality. So your situation is going to be very unique to you. And that's why we need a written plan, because that may or may not be enough. And that's why we've got to put together the different ways that we're going to be able to create that reliability of income that you can count on as long as both you and your spouse are alive.
Elevate Your Wealth. We're in the middle of question and answer, giving our gentlemen here scenarios, and they are handling them quite fine. So, Casey, this next one's for you. How long do you typically have to wait for your Social Security application to be approved? I applied for Social Security in January and have been planning to retire as soon as that approval comes through. I called last week and they told me there was an issue with identical looking contributions in 1992 and I should call back in a few months for an update. Is this common? Is this a common occurrence? Any suggestions on where to go from here?
Well, I'm sorry to hear about that. Unfortunately, I won't say that it's altogether uncommon, but ultimately, many folks are able to file for Social Security without any hiccups. It does take a little bit of time, maybe a couple months is what we see for that to be approved. And so, your individual situation, as is the case with a lot of things we talk about, is unique to you. Sometimes folks do have hangups for different reasons. I had a client not too long ago that had to go back and prove something in his work record, and he needed records from 14 years ago to be able to prove this for Social Security. And you know what? Lo and behold, he still had records from 14 years ago, which I don't think very many people do. Many people don't even have them for a couple of years ago. And so, in that circumstance, it was a pain, but he was able to get through it. And ultimately, you are dealing with, a government entity or agency. And so there's some pain there, definitely. They're short-staffed. They've got lots and lots of people applying for benefits, many things to review. To say that they get things done in a timely fashion would be a big stretch. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, they're just limited on their capacity. And that means that it's going to take a few months for you to get an update, a few months for you to get an answer on what you're looking for, which is unfortunate. If they did not give you anything that they need from you, there's probably not a whole lot that you can do to speed it up. You're going to have to wait on them. And as far as what you can do is I would just say, hang on, save as much as you can for retirement, keep, kind of following the path that you're on and, just follow the course and wait to hear from them. If you do want to reach out to them, I would definitely suggest not going into the office. That's a lost cause at this point. The lines are very long and you're probably not going to get any answers. It'd be better off to try and schedule an appointment to get a call back from them. But like I said, just stay the course and keep rolling.
Final scenario, we're going to throw this one at Mark, and then we're going to open up those spots on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. Mark, here you go. My parents are 62 and 64. They're going to retire in 3 to 5 years. They both have a pension and will get Social Security, and that'll get them to about 80% of their current income, which is enough. They have about $100K in 401Ks, another $100,000 in variable annuities. They also own their home of $650,000 in equity. I've heard that the 60-40 split stocks bonds is a good strategy. Is this how they should be allocated, or are there other investment vehicles that would be a better situation for people that are in this scenario?
Yeah, this 60-40 split goes back to modern portfolio theory, right? And so most of us in this planning world don't believe that works. In fact, BlackRock, the largest money manager in the world, says if you're planning and that's what you're doing for your clients using this old theory, you need to throw it out the window. Just get rid of it, because that playbook is not going to work anymore. So we take a much different approach. We look at the client's age, of course, and we're going to be probably a little more conservative than a lot of brokers would be, because we want to talk about guaranteed income. And Social Security is a major piece of that. We can count on that, right? Now, there could be some changes. Pensions, if it's funded, we're going to be able to count on that. But if you're counting on money from the market right now, and that 60-40 split, and the older we get, the more they want us to go into bonds, right? And so if you go more into bonds right now, how's that working out for everybody? Interest rates are rising, which means bonds is not the world you want to be involved in when interest rates are doing what they're doing today. It can be more dangerous than your equity positions. And so, again, it's a new playbook that is needed. We need to put together a plan where you can have guaranteed income and not have to take that income out of the stock market when the market is declining. We don't want to lock in those losses. So again, that's why it's critical that we have a true plan in place.
Folks, it's an opportunity to just sit down and talk about your own situation. We go over these scenarios, and man, I tell you, they're from all walks of life. And again, your scenario is going to be unique to you, so make sure your plan, your path to retirement is custom. Now's the opportunity. 10 spots. Mark, what's going to happen for the next 10 callers?
If you've been dealing with any of these things that you've heard on the show today, you're anxious about retirement or what it's going to look like for you, please pick up the phone and give us a call. We're going to put together a plan that's going to be done by our team of certified financial planners. So if you've saved at least $250,000 or more, maybe you worked at Boeing and you're just stressed out a little bit because you don't know what to do, who to talk to, please come into our office. Let's have just a simple conversation about your specific situation. And I promise that that's going to take a lot of the concern and the worry away when you talk to us. We want you to know that we want you to be successful in retirement. That's all our goal, is to make sure that your retirement isn't just a fairy tale. So please pick up the phone, call us, and let us help you put together a plan that I think you'd be really proud of.
All right, 10 spots. Here's the number, 866-668-3625. Call now, 866-668-3625. Another edition of Elevate Your Wealth is in the books. We'll see you on the radio next week.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.